Today we are talking about the 1997 Michael Hawke film, Funny Games. Now, I have to start by saying I kind of went into this sort of blind. I knew a rough idea of what the film was about, and by all means, it still blew me away. Now, this is a home invasion film. Going in, I was expecting kind of like The Strangers in a premise of a way, but this is not at all in that sense of being a horror film. I mean, it's a horror film, but it's not anything like you've ever seen. It opens up, and we have this rather long kind of drive where we're just kind of hanging out with the characters. And then as it's a good 20 minutes in before we even get to the actual core of the film. And by the time we get there, it's unexpected. Like the score. The score is something in any horror film that definitely drives the emotion and drives the anticipation of what's to come. The score in this film is pretty much non-existent. There is literally only a handful of scenes where there's a score, and two of the scenes that really stand out is the opening sequence and the ending of the film. And you have this very like heavy metal kind of like score that is completely chaotic, and that is pretty much the only score you really get. We do have some soundtrack, if you will, or like some type of like, it's more like a soundtrack, but it's classical music playing, and that's in two scenes. That's again in our opening scene when they're in the car ride, and there's one other scene where we have music playing. But other than that, there is no score, so you have no anticipational build-up. You don't have that traditional horror style kind of anticipation. And speaking of, anticipation and just traditional storytelling, the cinematography is just such, it's bland, but in the best possible way, because you don't have those really build up kind of shots that build anticipation like you generally see in a horror film. You don't have those crisp looking shots that you'd see in a traditional style film where you're really kind of capturing a story. Those shots are very much median kind of wide shots, and they're very dull. It feels so gritty and like real because of how uncrisp and just loose the shots feel, which really adds to this uncertainty and this sense of just complete a complete sense of unease, because it just puts you on eggshells because you never know what's going to happen. Like, something is going to happen, but there is no cues to build up that tension, so it's just you're constantly sitting on eggshells. And this is one of those films that are like stomach churning, and that's coming from somebody who watches a lot of horror films. This film is very it's stomach churning in the best possible way. There is a slight moment of kind of dullness in the mid part of the film where you kind of think the film is over and it's just kind of having a very like drawn out ending, but it's not. That's just your intermission, if you will, into what is to come. And one thing that I will say that really kind of stood out for me in this is the fourth wall breaks, because there is a couple of scenes where there is where they break the fourth wall in one way or another, and it's really kind of there, I think, to ground the film, to give you this sense of that this is a movie and not like a documentary, because it feels so real and so raw because of the lack of score and the use of the cinematography that really has this gut-wrenching realism to it, which really kind of puts you so much into the film that you forget you're watching a movie. And those fourth wall breaks are kind of like little breaks, so to speak, to kind of put you back in that mindset that you're watching a movie, because it's just so gritty at points. I honestly cannot recommend this movie enough if you're a horror fan. it is one I would highly recommend checking out. And if you saw the film, what are your thoughts? Comment below, let me know. And if you liked what you heard here and you want to hear more, I actually did an entire episode on this film on my podcast, Criterion Corner, where we do a deep dive into the film and talk about it from start to finish. As always, if you like what you see here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.